Hi, my name is Sherry Clanton, and I teach at Mesa Academy. And my 5th and 7th graders want to know what passion or hobby led you to your career.
Hi, my name is Steve Clemens, and I'm a 9th through 12th grade teacher at Valley Vista High School. And my students would like to know, did you always want to do this job, or is it something that you came to after college?
Hi, my name is Becky Detloff. I teach gifted to K-8 students at Sunny Slope Elementary. My students would like to know, what was it that got you interested in what you're doing? Was it an interest from when you were a kid? Was it something that you got into as you got older? How did you decide to do what you are doing right now?
Hi, my name is Liliana Grijalva. I'm a third grade teacher at ASU Prep Academy. My students would like to know what interests or hobbies can they pick up now as a third grader that will be related to your field and your career?
I enjoy, well, as a child, I didn't travel much. The few times I was able to travel, I enjoyed it, and it just broadened my horizons. I wasn't thinking about nursing at the time. I was thinking more of getting it. I loved sports. Now more centered on football, but I really wanted to get into like athletic training, sports medicine. That was my original plan. But then I ended up getting married, had kids, was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, worked in a nurse's office for a while as an aide, just while my kids were in school. And that's what sparked my nursing desire. After having my kids, working in the nurse's office at the school, that's what sparked me to get into nursing.
I just want to follow on Bridget and talk about my childhood. I think that my hobby as a child, I come from a large family, and my parents had to move to a port, basically on the shores of the Pacific Ocean. So we were so many, 6 kids, that my parents were too busy working, to support us. So at 4 in the morning, I got up. I was only 4 years old, so I went fishing, crabbing, just play in the swamps. And then I noticed that the ocean was washing objects from sunken ships, or a storm probably had caused some problem in a boat. And I picked up those things, and with my friends, we found ways of making our own toys. So the ability to make, my parents would never buy me a toy until I was like 10 years old. And that's it. That's the one toy I remember. It was a little horse, plastic horse. But making your own toys that work with plastic bands that move, airplanes, or little cars that could do something so early on in my life was a spectacular hobby. So I'm still making my own toys. I think that that early experience just put me on that path. But I didn't get a chance to be fully educated until I was like 5 years old. So I didn't even know how to speak well. I had problems speaking, but eventually I caught up. And what helped later on in life, one other hobby, was that I was a bit undisciplined, because I was basically roaming around the beach and the swamp, doing anything I wanted at 4 in the morning, right? So I had to learn some discipline. So my father put me in a martial arts school, and I had to go through, training and discipline. And I think that instilled in me the sense of discipline, that, yeah, do what you want, but also, have a sense of how you manage your time, and how you endure difficulties. So I think martial arts, and then later on swimming and water polo, were amazing sports that helped me understand that to get something good, you really have to work hard at it.
Yeah, and if I can add on to what Dr. Blanco said, one of my earliest hobbies was reading. I remember just collecting as many books as I could and reading them all as fast as I could. And one of my favorite things, I had a couple of really cool favorite things as a kid that involved reading. And one was, my dad would get an astronomy magazine and National Geographic every month. And so I would love going through and looking at all of the original pictures from the Hubble Space Telescope, and just looking through National Geographic and really seeing what was out there in the world was really exciting to me, and really broadened my horizons. I'm from a really small town. I saw a lot of desert, and that was about it for the most part. And so really looking into National Geographic and seeing all the cool stuff out there, all the cool science that was being done, was really exciting. And then just also to add on to what Dr. Blanco said, and Asya as well. Just being creative and building your own things was one of my hobbies as well. So I would take a lot of my brother's old toys and, I would build things with them. I would make little houses for my dolls with his Legos. I would use erector sets to build helicopters that barely worked. But just being able to play around with things, fiddle around with things, and try to build something new with what you have around you. And that leads to one more thing that I used to do. I used to just take materials from whatever I could find around the house and try to create new things from them. So I remember taking paper towels and dipping them in the leftover dye we had from Easter egg dyeing and, making curtains for my dolls and stuff like that. But learning how to take things that you already have and build them into something new is really valuable skill to have.
I grew up, dancing and singing, and I used to love musical theater. I grew up in a pretty musical family. When I started going to school, I really loved all of my science classes, like biology. I just fell in love with it, understanding that like something so small and so complex exists, and I can't see it. It was like something that I couldn't wrap my head around, but it was something that really made me very excited. So I actually had a lot of people that you talk to that are in physical therapy. They played a bunch of sports and they got injured, and so they went to therapy themselves. So I played a bunch of sports, but I was never good enough at sports to get injured. So, I ended up falling into this opportunity when I was in college to volunteer because I needed volunteer hours. And I knew I loved science, and I knew I loved like developing relationships with people. So I ended up falling into this volunteer opportunity in a physical therapist clinic. And I just loved it. I loved that you were seeing patients for, it was more than just like once a year or once every 6 months for a checkup. You were building relationships. You knew what was going on with their families and their grandkids and their brothers and their sisters. And you were helping them feel better and do something that they really wanted to either do for the first time or get back to doing, that they had to stop because of some sort of injury or pain. And so it was almost the combination of what I loved about the dancing and the singing and kind of that movement piece, pieced together with this excitement about science and biology that I didn't know exactly what to do with, but I knew I really enjoyed.
Hello, my name is Denise Blees, and I teach STEAM at Barcelona Elementary School, kindergarten through 8th grade. My students were wondering what type of training is involved in the work that you do.
Hi, my name is Kristen Grosso, and I'm an 8th grade teacher at Stetson Hill School. My question is really for every career field. My students would like to know what you would suggest they do extracurricular as well as course-wise in high school to better prepare them for the field. Thank you.
I think it's important to take courses that will prepare you for the things that you think you might do in the future. You may not know exactly. I didn't know I was going to be a physical chemist until I went to college, but I did like science. So math, I know is scary and everything, but it's something, it's a tool that, if you have a good math teacher or you look online to learn about mathematics, I think it's important that you spend some time. Once you get into the hang of it, or if you have a really good teacher, it's not going to be that difficult. It's actually very, very, very interesting and pleasant to learn.
I'd love to jump in on that too, Dr. Blanco. So, you bring up a good point about being curious, and I think that's the number one thing. Take and explore topics and subjects that maybe you're unsure about, because you never know what you're going to find out. Even if you decide not to, pursue a specific path in science, you're going to pick up on something that's going to help you down the line in your career. And so I think that's the most exciting thing about science and healthcare is that things are always changing. There's always something new to learn. And so, take advantage of classes that you might, not be interested in, off the bat, but might teach you a different perspective or might help you learn about something that you don't know a lot about. And that could kind of guide you one way or the other if that's something that you want to pursue. So I think for me, it's less about, taking specific courses and more about just being really open-minded to taking a lot of different things so that you can explore and learn and see what piques your interest and what maybe doesn't, and then you kind of wind your way, to a career path.
I can speak. I would like to speak directly towards nursing because we do have a great need for male and female nurses. But some of the things I would recommend that I didn't know about when I was in school, which was a really long time ago, they do actually have courses. Some of the school districts, I know a friend of mine goes, her daughter is at the Peoria Unified School District, and they have what's called the MET program. And it's a career program that offers professional guidance where they work on projects with medicine, science, engineering, and it's an actual program. So I don't know where a lot of the students will be residing, but I know that's one school district that offers that. I don't know if others do, but it's alongside, I think you have to be a junior and senior in order to get into the program, but it helps guide you. They also help guide you into, universities to start your degree. But there's also things you can do, take first aid classes. You can volunteer. I believe the American Heart Association, there's a lot of places that have medical opportunities for you to go out into the community.
Yeah, and for me, just like everybody else, I'm going to plug math as something that's important, but I don't want to scare those away who either don't love math or aren't very good at math. I was always pretty decent at math in high school, but once I got to calculus, I just really wasn't interested in calculating the volume of a boat. So that's something that really kind of tore me away from math, but I'm still decent enough at it that I can do my job and I can do it well. So if you're not the best at math, don't worry. As long as you've got the curiosity and the drive to do science, you can do it. One of the other classes that I definitely have to plug as a grade school student or as a high school student is bands, especially marching bands. It will really get your creative brain going. It'll exercise your brain. You'll be able to just do a lot of things that you might not otherwise be able to do because you can often travel with these things as well. But most importantly, what band really helped me with was discipline, especially with marching band. You have to learn how to be really still when you're supposed to be, and you have to practice to make sure that you're, giving to the rest of the music like you should be. And so that was one of my main drivers in high school, is doing marching band and learning all that, and helps you focus as well.
Hi, my name is Sarah Mullen, and I am an 11th and 12th grade biology teacher at Odyssey Institute. My students would like to know, what is an attribute that may be considered a weakness in other jobs, but is a strength in your profession? Thank you.
Great. So one of the best skills that I was always really bad about as a kid, but am much better about now and still learning to do, is communication. Learning to communicate with others, learning how to communicate with others that you don't agree with is very, very important, not just in science, but in life in general. So that's definitely a big skill. Learning how to fail is number one. So if you're not failing, you're not doing it right. Just keep failing and eventually you'll get to where you need to go. And yeah, those are my top skills, I would say. Just learning how to talk to each other, learning how to fail, and just keep trying. Big skills.
I'd love to jump in on that as well. So I totally agree. Make mistakes, learn from those mistakes. But I think also some of the key skills are really collaboration. I totally agree on the communication front, but also really following up and following through. So if you make a commitment, whether it's to yourself or to somebody else, even if you really don't want to do it, just remind yourself that that commitment is out there and make sure that you're following up and following through, even if you decide, to change directions afterwards. I think that's key.
I'll say as a nurse, we use critical thinking skills all the time. It's just recognizing a problem, asking questions, gathering your data, the proper information, and being able to be open-minded with evaluation, and then being able to communicate that to someone else. You don't have to have answers. You just have to come up with gathering the data and providing it to a provider or someone with a higher level. In nursing, we don't diagnose, so you collaborate with a care team. And so critical thinking is very important. Even the smallest of details that are changing can make a big difference if you recognize them early on.
I agree that people skills are very important. We as scientists or technical people, we're good in terms of analytical thinking, but we have to actually learn. But if you're a musician or if you're into the arts, you have a little bit more, I think, develop that sense of skills, people skills. So get those people skills if you are into a technical area. It's really going to make a big difference in how you execute your work and how you get along with other people. Because individuals are now not the only way to solve problems. You need teams, entire teams. And we need to be respectful of others, whether we agree with them or not. We need to be respectful in disagreeing with them. So that's very important to develop those people skills. And the one last thing I'd like to say about the skills that I think help you is you have to have a positive attitude. Analytical skills are great, but this positivity, things go badly all the time. I mean, things don't go well. And as Rebecca said, we learn from our mistakes. And actually, we learn more from our mistakes than from the things that we are successful. So be positive. You got a problem, think about an opportunity to create a solution as opposed to feel down because you have a problem, because you will always have problems. So be positive. That skill, get that positivity into your being as part of who you are. That's very important.
Hi, my name is Ms. Tran. I am a 7th grade teacher at Catalina Ventura Elementary School. My students would like to know, what adversity did you guys have to overcome in order to be where you're at right now? That's it.
In nursing, our biggest challenge is, I'll just say, lack of resources, whether it be lack of nursing, like we need more bodies. Lack of resources outside in the community. They need more nurses out in the community so that we can get our patients transitioned home. So we need more nurses. Plain and simple.
In my job, I need to raise funds for the company. I need to ask people for money. So one easy way of doing that is if you need money, you go and ask for advice. If you need advice, you go and ask for money. That's how it works. And if the field is level, I think things work out. But for people like us, and when I say us, I mean women and minorities like myself, I'm Hispanic, the field is not level. I can tell you that. It's much more difficult for us to get the things we need to do our jobs. But don't let that stop you, because you are opening new roads for others to come. So it's important that you don't give up. I would say take the initiative, and that's the one thing I like to emphasize to new hires, new employees, or young people who want to go into the workforce. If you're just waiting, sitting in your office or your lab for people to tell you what to do, you're not doing your job. Because there is so much I can figure out and so much time I have to tell everyone what to do. You have to be inquisitive, curious, and volunteer. And if you're at home, that means see what things you can do at home. Volunteer for things to do at home. That's where things start. So take that initiative. That's what I need in people coming into the workforce, that they don't wait for me to tell them. Of course, if they have doubts about whether what they think to do is going to create a problem, then ask questions. But don't just sit in your office. Your boss may be too busy to tell you what to do, and you're wasting time and resources of the company. So take that initiative.
When we're trying to fill gaps here at the lab, we are often looking for somebody who has a really good skill in a very specific technology or a very specific technique. But in general, we do get a lot of applications for people who all have the same skill. But what we're really looking for is somebody who's creative, somebody who can take the initiative to solve problems by themselves instead of waiting for somebody to come help them. So if you're trying to solve a problem, just try your best to, try to solve it yourself. And once you think you've exhausted all of your possibilities, go and ask for help. That's going to be one of your best skills that you can apply for and apply to yourself and that will apply to your future jobs, I think a lot.
When we think about home care, the biggest challenge that we face, just like Bridget said, is resources, right? We don't have enough people. We don't have enough kind of brain power. We're fighting a really antiquated healthcare system. And so when we think about the future of healthcare and what we really need, this next wave of students and professionals to help us with and get involved in is being creative on how we can reimagine healthcare and how we can reimagine that comprehensive care model at home, right? So we've got people who are going to be in the hospital. Where do they go afterwards? They want to go home. Everybody, is obsessed with Amazon these days. Everybody wants everything delivered to their home. Everybody wants that convenience factor. And so how do we take that element of care and safety and supplies and resources that somebody might have access to in a hospital setting or an assisted living setting or a skilled nursing facility, and how do we bring that to the home so that the person can be safe and get better and have that full care team? So I challenge you guys to think about whether you want to pursue careers as clinicians or administrative or something in healthcare and strategy and innovation. There are so many opportunities in science and in healthcare. You don't have to be a clinician to be able to help and contribute to some of these biggest challenges that you've heard us talk about today. You just have to have that curiosity and that passion to make the world a better place.
Hi, my name is Ms. Griffin. I am an 8th grade civics teacher at Desert Sands Middle School. My students would like to know which of the occupations in this field have the highest job growth.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and I am a 3rd grade teacher at Scales Elementary. My kids love science, technology, engineering, and they just would like to know, besides working with computers, what other technology jobs are there that they could aspire to be?
Hi, my name is Crystal Rodriguez, and I'm a 7th grade teacher at Vista Verde Middle School in Paradise Valley School District. My students would like to know what kind of possible careers could they go into in the field of bioscience engineering.
I think the biggest challenge for people coming into our area, biotechnology, is ethics. We have our own bioethics rules, and it's very important to understand that this technology is so powerful. I would even venture to say more powerful than nuclear power, because it can affect life on this planet. If we don't use it properly, we can destroy life. So we, as a company, have a bioethics code that says we are here to protect, and that means vaccines. We are here to heal, that means biotherapeutics. And we are here to rejuvenate. I don't want to say prolong life, because you can have a miserable life where you're in the hospital and you're there for years. No, ability, not my generation, but your generation and your children's generation will have the option to say, oh, I want to live another 20 years. That is within, it's not science fiction, that is within the next generation. So bioethics, I think it's very important. Having the power to do these things is great. It's science fiction, amazing, but use it for good. That is the real challenge. So don't go after the idea that you're going to make money, doesn't matter how. That would be something that would happen secondary to what you do. But you need to understand that whatever you choose to do with biotechnology, you have to keep in mind the well-being of the planet and the well-being of humans and animals and everything around us that has life.
Okay, I'd like to add, in nursing, there are endless opportunities. You can work at the bedside with patients. You can work as a nurse in informatics, with the structure of the computer charting. You can work as a flight nurse, a travel nurse. That was originally what I wanted to do, was travel nursing. You can work on cruise ships. You can work in administration, leadership. You can also become a provider and work as a nurse practitioner. You can go into the homes and work as a home health nurse. There are endless opportunities for nursing. You can pick and choose. You just start as a nurse. You can get into labor and delivery. Lots of things. Some people even open, group homes, because we've had challenges with home care facilities. there's just endless opportunities for nursing. You just have to start, as a nurse, gain your knowledge, your experience, and then network, and you can go almost anywhere. I think I have a list on one of my slides that shows, I don't even know how many career choices there are, or paths to nursing. You could be a school nurse and, work, in your kid's school. So there are endless opportunities. It just depends on what you need, what fits your lifestyle. You can work day shift, you can work night shift, you can work part-time as needed. Endless opportunities as a nurse.
I just want to jump in really quickly because I think something that we are all probably familiar with, but maybe haven't spoken to yet, is kind of getting your foot in the door with any of the careers that we've talked about. We've obviously done a good amount of school and we've had different experiences, but Dr. Blanco, Dr. Cook had talked about earlier, volunteer, get your foot in the door. You don't have to go get your PhD to start working in these fields. I'm a big proponent of earning while you learn. So, if you want to be in physical therapy and you decide you can go to a clinic and you can be an aide, there's not really schooling for that. You can just kind of get your feet wet. You can decide to be an assistant. That's an associate's degree, and then you can decide to, do the full thing if you want. There are bridge programs. The same thing I'm certain exists in science and engineering and nanotechnology, and certainly in nursing. You can take a 4-week course and become a CNA and kind of work your way up. So I just want to make sure that we don't scare any of you off, because certainly you can do as much school. You can do school for the rest of your life if you want, but there are so many great entry points into the careers that we've talked about that I think are just great opportunities for you guys to get your feet wet and see if you like the industry, and then you can take it any which way you want.
Yeah, and with in my field, I studied molecular and cellular biology, which studies DNA, studies how DNA is formed into proteins, which, as Dr. Blanco mentioned, are the building blocks of life. With that particular knowledge, you can do almost anything you want to do as long as you've got some imagination. So some of the things that people with my particular degree can do are, and even things that I've done, are you can engineer plants to do fun things. You can engineer plants to grow on Mars. You can create little fun DNA structures that will have some special function in your body, little DNA robots. You can study the bacteria that live in your gut and are affecting your brain. You can go completely outside of the lab and just teach science to others. You can be a patent attorney. You can go into law and defend science in court. You can create vaccines. You can study how vaccines are working. You can study how viruses are working and why they're coming out from the wild and infecting us. And basically anything you want to do, you can do with a degree like mine in molecular and cellular biology. It just really takes creativity and imagination.
I'm Mario Blanco, and I'm a physical chemist by training, and I am the CEO of Nanopec. I love to come to the office and the lab and work with young people. I think that's the favorite part of my daily job, but in general, I'm very excited about what our company is doing, which is to help all other companies around the world to be able to make DNA, the molecule of life, faster and more precise. And that is going to change the way our lives are. And that's the hope, that we will be able to find new cures or help others find new cures for cancer, to correct any genetic issues, and to make better vaccines, and also environmental aspects of how we take care of our environment, how we make the world a better place. So. And in our work, we use several tools. Here you can see that DNA is a series of letters, simple as that. They are made into pieces called oligos or oligonucleotides, and then they put together in longer paragraphs, if you will. Those are called genes. And I think everyone or a lot of people have heard about the ability to sequence these genes to be able to read the letters in the gene. But what we're doing is not reading, we are actually writing DNA from scratch. So it is up to our customers, our scientists, and others in other companies to decide, okay, we need to change the COVID vaccine. What letters do we need to change? And that's what we do. We help them automate this process.
Hi, my name is Melissa Utter. I work for Aspire, which is Deer Valley's online academy. My students wanted to know what exactly synthetic biotechnology meant and what it relates to as far as superheroes that they know. So they wanted to know, is it more like Captain America and you can make super soldiers, or is it more like Black Panther technology, or a little more like Dr. Octavius where he has the robotic limbs that are attached to him that he can control with his mind?
Interesting choices. I think we are building limbs. We are building capabilities. I mean, the ultimate nanotech is life. It exists already. Every cell in our body is a nano machine. So there's all these machines that work inside our cells. We call them proteins. And then in the center of each cell, you have the DNA that directs the creation of these engines of creation. So that's really exciting. So biotech is about learning this complexity of how DNA in the center of a cell gets eventually expressed into these amazing engines of creation. And these proteins that get put out into the cell and outside the cell do all kinds of things. They are nanomachines. They can either do reactions, and we call them enzymes, meaning just like you use Legos to put together your toy, these enzymes put together molecules, and that's very important because you want to have small pieces put into larger, more complex pieces that do certain functions. But also those proteins form the skeleton of your body, the skin outside your body, and everything that needs support. So that's the structural proteins that we need, the collagen inside our bodies, our tissues. We need to build the cells into their own environment. So biotechnology also is not just about humans, it's about animals, it's about ecosystems, it's about healing the planet from, we are already intervening in the planet. People say, we shouldn't touch the biology in the environment. We already have. So, there was a great opposition to genetically modified organisms, but we couldn't produce enough food if we had not gone that way with biotech. And now we need to pay attention to what climate change is doing to our world, and then be able to use that knowledge to help heal the planet. So think of the planet as a big organism that now is clamoring for our help. And biotech can also help in that regard. How? If you read the news in San Francisco Bay, all fish died because of algae blooms right now, this past week. Not only the fish died, all the worms in the sediments died. So, and that is because we are putting out all this nitrogen, all this phosphorus from our water treatment plants for years and years. And that combined with high temperatures made this algae bloom and basically eat up all the nutrients and also starve fish of oxygen. So how can we use biotech? Well, we may be able to engineer an algae that competes with this one, so it doesn't dominate the environment, and we may be able to save the species in the Bay Area and elsewhere. So those are applications of biotech. So it's about limbs. It's about putting together things. That's how I feel that biotech is about. My name is Mario Blanco, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of Nanopec, Inc. If you'd like to learn more about how to engage with me, go to Educator Pro Connect.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Cook. I'm a research scientist at a biotech startup in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Menlo Park, California. The company name is INanoBio. My typical day is very sciencey, obviously. What we do here is we try to diagnose diseases at a very early stage before a person even gets any symptoms of a certain disease. And we're also working towards helping with vaccine development as well. So if you've heard Dr. Blanco talk, we actually use the DNA that it can be synthesized somewhere else, and we take that and make proteins with it. And if you see a photo on one of my slides, you can see that every little spot on that slide is a certain protein that your body can make an immune reaction to. And that can either help you prevent you from getting diseases, or it can cause disease. And so we can use these slides to basically diagnose a patient or see if they have immunity to a particular disease already. A lot of my work just reflects around problem solving in the lab. I help develop technologies that basically address the problems that I spoke about a second ago. And I also really love to mentor others in the lab. So we get to teach other folks how to be a better scientist, how to analyze their data better. And in addition to that, we do a lot of data meetings. We talk a lot about all of the experiments that we run in the lab. And we do a lot of grant writing, a lot of technical type writing, but overall we're having fun and we're working towards making the world a better place.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Bankston, and I'm an 8th grade teacher at Hillcrest Middle School, Deer Valley Unified School District. My students would like to know, is nanotechnology really what it looked like in the Disney movie Big Hero 6? Can you really create some sort of a large monster to take over the world with nanotechnology?
Well, unfortunately, I've not seen any of those movies yet, as much as my nephew will probably get on to me about. So I don't actually know what was going on in those movies. I can talk a little bit about what I know about nanotech, and we are doing really cool things with it. So one of the other parts of our company here at INanoBio is we're developing a DNA sequencer that can sequence an entire human genome within in less than an hour, and hopefully in the future within minutes. We can do, hopefully we'll be able to do it 10 times faster, not 10 times faster, 1/10 of the cost that it is now. So it's going to be way cheaper to do. And you'll be able to basically diagnose diseases much, much faster. And even, you know, if you've got a cold or something, you want to know if it's COVID, you might be able to stick your DNA in there and figure that out really quickly. So that's just one aspect of it. And we do that with nanopores, little tiny pores in silicon. One thing that I did with nanotechnology as a research technician a few years back was I actually took tiny little nanoparticles, so particles that you can't even see with your eye, but they're made of degradable plastic. And we loaded those with drugs that killed cancer. And I thought it was really fun because on the outside of it, we put molecules basically that could deliver them straight to the brain. So instead of, you know, getting chemotherapy over your whole body and getting really sick from it, the goal of that was to only deliver it to the brain where a brain tumor might be. And then, you know, having that drug only killing the tumor cells in your brain and not making you sick. And one of the ways we did that was we put something from nature on the outside. So one of the things we put on the outside was a piece of rabies virus. So a lot of people know rabies virus is something that affects your brain, especially the brain of animals. It's what makes them go crazy at the end and start foaming at the mouth and all that stuff. That's a neurological disease. But we can use what lets rabies get to the brain. We can put that outside on the outside of particles and help those nanoparticles get to the brain itself. And another thing that I used was something called a chlorotoxin. So it's a it's a component of scorpion venom that's non-toxic to humans. It actually will paralyze an insect, but doesn't do anything in humans. But what was really cool about it was that it stuck specifically to brain tumor cells. It didn't stick to anywhere else in the body. So if you injected these nanoparticles into the body, they are loaded with your chemotherapeutic drug that will kill your cancer. On the outside, you've got the chlorotoxin bringing it to the brain and sticking to the cells, and boom, hopefully in the future, something like that will be in the clinic available so that people are getting less sick from chemotherapeutic drugs. And there's a lot more cool stuff going on in nanotech that unfortunately I don't have the ability to speak on as well, but there's, you know, all kinds of things from, you know, carbon nanotubes that are being produced as, you know, forms of body armor even, and things that you can barely see but are able to do really cool things. So I think it's close. We're definitely getting closer day by day. We're learning more about how these nanotechnologies affect the body and affect our environment, and we need to keep studying those things as well. My name is Rebecca Cook. I'm a research scientist at INanoBio. If you want to learn more, come find me on Educator Pro Connect.
My name is Bridget Gessel. I'm an RN case manager at the Mayo Clinic Hospital in Phoenix. And my job is very fast-paced and complex. I work in an acute care setting where patients, the goal is to get them discharged home or to an outside facility with a safe transition. We will work with outside agencies to establish home care where the patient can transition into the home to continue therapies that may be needed. We also work with local agencies if a patient needs to be placed for continued rehab therapies or intense therapies. We help transition that. We also help transition if a patient needs to be transported to across state lines because maybe they have more family live in another state that would provide better, closer assistance with recovery. And then we do simple things like helping someone get home, transportation, maybe with Uber, or helping with medications, anything that helps to progress a patient's recovery at home is the goal. Our goal is to get patients out of the hospital safely. But the most rewarding thing for me is being able to do that. A lot of times people have challenges with caregivers at home. We're very limited in the nursing field. It's a challenge sometimes to get assistance for patients at home. So it's very rewarding. It's very progressive. I feel that every day there's a challenge, whether it be a small or a major challenge. There's always a challenge, and you always feel at the end of the day that I feel, I'll talk for myself. I always feel that there's always an accomplishment at the end of the day. So I love it. It's a broad career, many avenues you can travel in regards to patient care. But as a case manager, I feel that it's very rewarding, very inspiring to be able to help a person when they're, in most cases, at their worst. They feel they're at your mercy. They need your assistance, your guidance in an area that they have not been before. And I'm able to help them transition home safely to continue their recovery.
Hi, my name is Arlette Johnson, and I am a 6th through 8th grade teacher at Frank Borman School. My students would like to know about a nursing career. They want to know, is it easy? And how did you do it? And do you think that I can be a nurse like you? And what is the hardest part of your job?
Some of the biggest changes, the complexity of patients and their needs going home. Some of the limitations that we have trying to get them home or to a safe environment to continue their recovery, especially after COVID. We've had challenges getting patients into rehab facilities. We've had challenges with getting patients home with home health care needs. We've had challenges just with people being so much more sick that they need additional assistance. They can't get back to their baseline of care, meaning before their functioning level before they came in. It's challenging to get them back there as quick as we would like. So just some of the resources have been challenging for us. There have been a lot of nurses that have changed careers, moved on, advanced their careers, which all of that is needed, but it's made it more difficult for us to get patients home from and out of the hospital quicker than or as quick as we would like. I'm Bridget Gessel, a registered nurse case manager at Mayo Clinic Hospital. If you would like to learn more about my career, please join me on Educator Pro Connect.
Thank you. So my name is Asya. I am a physical therapist by trade. And right now I serve as the Director of Strategy and Innovation for Team Select Home Care. So our mission as a company is to take every opportunity to do right by all. And so that's something that is near and dear to my heart. So right now, what I do mostly is help solve some of the biggest challenges that we're seeing and we're facing within the home health realm. So everybody knows that there's a nursing and a clinician shortage. So we're trying to find creative ways to educate a lot of young people, a lot of people who might be looking for different careers at this point in their lives, what home care is and what we do and the value that it brings to all of the families and communities that we serve. And one of the coolest projects that I get to do now is, because of my experience as a therapist, I am helping Team Select launch their pediatric therapy division in Phoenix. And so we get to work with families and provide therapy services through play. So my favorite part of that piece is just being creative. You know, it's one thing to tell an adult to do these types of exercises and hope that they'll do it and give them a sheet to hand out and cross your fingers that they're going to do their homework. But it's a very different experience to work with a family dynamic and be in someone's home and use the resources that they have in their home to be creative and to still work on some of those really important motor milestones. So in both parts of my job, both on the therapy side and the strategy side, creativity is definitely my number one most favorite part of my job, whether we're working to be creative with kids and helping them reach some of their therapy goals, or we're trying to be creative to see how else we can serve these families. You know, see if there's some sort of administrative burden that we can take off of their shoulders as they're dealing with maybe a new diagnosis, or maybe they've just been discharged from the hospital and they're scared and it's a very new experience and they need that support system. You know, being able to be creative with the team and really advocate for these families is the most exciting part of the job.
Hello, my name is Nikki Paul, and I'm a math teacher in the Madison School District. And I think my students would like to know maybe a little bit more about physical therapy. What does that job entail? And do all physical therapists do the same thing, or do they specialize in different areas? And if so, what kind of areas might they specialize in?
Oh, so that's a great question. So a physical therapist is somebody who helps somebody, doesn't matter how old they are, it could be birth through the entire lifespan, get them back to wherever they want to be in terms of functional movement. So if they're if they're having pain and they can't do the things that they love, how do we help them with exercise, with manual therapy? How do we help them with movement patterns to minimize that pain and get back to doing what they were doing? Same thing with kids. If there's a little one who's 3 and should be walking and running by now, but isn't and is having trouble, how do we teach that child to kind of explore different movement patterns and become stronger to be able to do the things that he or she needs to do at that age and be able to play with other kids his or her age? So that's kind of PT in a nutshell. A lot of PTs will work in an outpatient clinic or they'll work in a hospital. And so the biggest difference is, just using the resources that you have with that family. It's very different when you walk into a clinic and you've got bikes and treadmills and all sorts of fun tools and, kind of options galore in terms of what you can do to work on some of these functional limitations like strength and coordination and balance. But then you walk into somebody's home and maybe they don't have much there. Maybe you've got to be really creative with a couch cushion, or you have to be really creative with, a little step stool that they might have in their kitchen. And so that's the biggest thing is, learning how to be creative and still work on the same functional goals for that patient. Again, whether it's a child or it's somebody a little bit older, with the things that they have at home. And it's also really a unique perspective because you get to see exactly what they have trouble doing with their daily routines. They might tell you about that when you see them in a clinic or in a hospital setting, but you're actually there physically in their home, and it might be a totally different story. So really, again, using that brain power to work with that patient and work with that family to figure out what would make this person most successful at home and safest at home and able to do the things that they need to do daily. My name is Asya Rudikoff. I am a physical therapist, and I would love to connect with you. If you want to learn more about this career and this career path, feel free to find me on Educator Pro Connect.